las redes sociales de hoy en día, el contenido de calidad a menudo pasa desapercibido. Venden, a los usuarios se les paga por la creación, evaluación y conservación de los contenidos de calidad. Los creadores de contenido son recompensados según el compromiso y el alcance de su publicación o comentario. Los evaluadores de contenido son recompensados en función de la velocidad y los resultados de sus predicciones. Los propietarios de la comunidad son recompensados en función del compromiso dentro de su comunidad. Venden, el contenido de calidad se paga.
Hello everyone, welcome to Super Happy Dragon Lucky episode 0x5454. It's the 85th episode, if I'm right. And this week we have a few updates. First of all, in the Number Go Up series, we have something this week that will be unique, which is DragonNet fees. And this week, Number Go Down. All right. And I think generally, depending upon, as adoption comes in, this number, it could occasionally go up, but it will potentially go down because the amount of time applied for anything with a lot of transactions is going to push it down a little bit. So an interesting aspect, as transaction volume goes up, that the time can, the transaction fees can go down on average. And there was someone, there was a system that added a lot of time recently, as you've seen in the metrics, that had a lot to do with it. And we turned on the Beaksy product as well, the Beaksy system. So that had a lot to do with it as well. Next up, we have inside of DIN, matter boosting is now live, which is, we should say this is the first iteration, first phase of rolling this out, just getting it in place. And very much this is an alternative to advertising. So bear with us for the coming couple of weeks as we roll out some pieces to make it more direct and more, valuable over time. That the interesting thing is that you can put matter on a post and you can push that matter internally to boost the post inside of a layer and, on someone's stream. But you can also push it externally, which will basically reward people for sharing this content outside of DIN. So internal, external. And the great thing about it is on the internal side, if you create content that performs well, you will get up to 85% of your matter back. The more poorly that it performs, the less of that you'll get back, and that's the incentive for producing content that is good for whatever community you're boosting it in. So anyway, it's an interesting model, and in the coming weeks we're going to have some more visual interface to it, so people can see that something is boosted, so they can see how it's boosted, so they can know how to interact with it. But it's on its way, and it is working. We just have we have a few more steps to get through before it's really what it will be. So that's all the updates. We'll be right back with our guests right after this.
ディズニーが最初に開発し、その後スピンアウトし、オープンソースとなったドラゴンチェーンからドラゴンチェーン商用プラットフォームおよびドラゴンチェーンインキュベーターが登場。まず資産となるデータの保護に重点を置いているドラゴンチェーンプラットフォームを見ていきましょう。サーバーレス構造を用いた拡張性高いプラットフォームは、スマートコントラクトの開発者たちが Java、Python、Node、C# など使い慣れたプログラミング言語で作り込まれるようパッケージ化されています。さらに、すべてのスマートコントラクトが Amazon AWS とその他の機能にフルアクセスできます。次はドラゴンチェーンインキュベーターを見ていきましょう。ドラゴンチェーンインキュベーターは ブロックチェーンプロジェクトのローンチに必要なプロセスを標準化しました。では次にドラゴンチェーンの市場を見ていきましょう。暗号通貨、マーケティング、法律、ソフトウェア開発、採用といったあらゆる分野のスペシャリストたちが集まるエコシステムになっています。またこの市場には開発者たちが再利用目的で収益化したビルド済みのスマートコントラクタライブラリーも含まれています。最後に紹介するのがドラゴンチェーンプラットフォームとエコシステム全体の全てのサービスにアクセスするためのトークン化されたマイクロライセンスです。ブロックチェーンビジネスマジック用に設計されています。あなたも最も安全で柔軟性が高くビジネス仕様のブロックチェーンプラットフォームとエコシステムの一員になれます。10月2日、いよいよドラゴン発売開始。
All right, welcome, guys. We have today Orrin, our favorite cyborg musician and artist from the future, and Greg Lang, the co-founder of Open Relay and CXO of Rivet.
Hey,
guys.
So,
How is 2021 so far? What have you guys been doing lately? Let us know.
We've been learning a lot about NFTs, learning a lot about the decentralized space and different use cases for the blockchain and ways to manage product inventory using cryptocurrencies.
Nice. Hey, Greg?
cool. Well, we've been watching with just a super excited kind of attitude towards the growth of Rivet. So, when we're sitting here at the base layer and seeing request volumes rise, and especially request volumes rise for projects that started off, pretty small, the growth has been remarkable, and we're just super excited about the prospects of what's coming because of what we've seen.
This year's already been very interesting, right? So gotten off really well. So hopefully it keeps going. Okay, so first up, an NFT just sold for 69 million, right? In an auction at Christie's, no less. It was the Beeple piece. And Justin Sun didn't get it. So this is good. But I thought he did. So that was good that he did. Will digital art overtake traditional art? Will NFT music overtake record labels? Where do you see this disrupting? What industries? Start with Greg.
Yeah, I think NFTs are probably the single biggest disrupting force in anything to do with crypto assets. People, got really excited about fungible tokens, but the idea of a thing that's digital that is truly verifiably unique, to me, that is. That's a game changer that, had it been around before, would have already disrupted the music industry, disrupted digital art, disrupted so many other things. I mean, we don't have digital car keys for a reason, but we could with NFTs, for example.
Yeah. And Orrin, do you see them? Are they being applied well yet?
So NFTs are good because they overlap tech and entertainment, helping to create mainstream adoption. And in this bull market, we have to be cautious when we hear these wild valuations, because the most important aspect of an NFT should be utility. And NFTs should have a similar function to season passes. And while the pass itself can be art, it should grant exclusive access or act as a marketing tool, which has additional features and benefits. So does it grant access? How will the team incorporate rewards for people holding the NFT? And does this NFT have specific importance to a given community?
Right. Very good. Very good. And with that, there's been, and I've seen a little bit of this myself, and wondered where it's coming from. That the all the news around NFTs has brought up people who are claiming that it's a threat to the environment, right? That the use of NFTs is net negative, right? And so I guess the question is, are they actually a threat to the environment versus the alternatives? And how can this be countered, right? How can this be addressed, I guess?
This is my favorite argument when it comes to even fungible tokens, right? Because the people that are making these claims aren't going through and doing an energy analysis against, the traditional industry. How many, like when you think about bank branches, for example, how much electricity does use? How many carbon emissions take place because employees commute to their physical branches every day? All of these things have to be balanced against the opposite. Now, you might argue that art hasn't been so big of a thing for a long time that the balance is much more clear in this case. But then you're arguing that art should not be popular again for the sake of the climate. Like, is it worth that kind of trade-off if that is actually the case? Should we accept a more barren culture for the sake of a thing that we can otherwise innovate our way out of, which I believe we can?
Yep. What do you think?
It's definitely a selective argument, right? And Ethereum is going to be switching from proof of work to proof of stake. So these comments are going to be addressed over time. It's just a matter of when.
Right. And what do you think about, like you say, the same thing has been said, particularly about Bitcoin, because of the massive amount of power applied. But like you say, it's likely at least approaching, and I would think probably likely more efficient than the traditional systems, at least in some ways, right? And at least it has the benefit of having it there is something that is unique, right? That before it, there wasn't a way to measure how likely is this data what it was at that time, right? I mean, Dragonchain, that's what we do. We use Bitcoin and Ethereum for that, and it's an interesting thing because in the end, it's a market, and the market will move to the most efficient model for the market, and Bitcoin is there for some reason, right? So it has to be efficient at what it does. So I guess my question would be, what do you think about leveraging something I'm obviously very interested in, leveraging the we lost Craig. Okay, I think it's good now. No worries. Leveraging hybrid tech, hybrid blockchain, that's what we do. That we deploy NFTs in a way that allows people to pull them off onto Ethereum if they wish, right? Or if the company wishes to do that. However, you can feasibly make millions of NFTs and see which ones are valuable enough to export them to the network. And why pay the fee? And it becomes a thing where don't put it on the network unless someone has a driver to put it there. That okay, I'm going to pay the fee, therefore okay, put it on there. And it basically attenuates the massive amount otherwise that you would it wouldn't be able to scale. So I don't know. What do you guys think of that? And the potential for my big heartburn in designing some of these systems is always that I have to worry about the maximalists coming in and saying that's not a real NFT. It's on a decentralized hybrid network, whatever they would call us, right? What do you guys think about that? Because that's the whole angle that I'm always trying to counter to have an answer to.
Well, cryptocurrencies can have specific niche utility and address specific problems in an industry. So if you want to create a scaling solution, then that's appropriate for what your platform should need. And again, based on the success of Ethereum, we see different coins trying to take a hybrid approach. The problem is just right now that most of the liquidity and innovation is on Ethereum. And so until we can find a true competitor to Ethereum, we're kind of bound to these high fees and electrical output costs.
Right. Greg?
I say let the market decide, right? If you come up with an NFT that gets transferred over to the Ethereum network that is really, really popular and that goes big, or that people find a lot of use from, or is just neat, that should exist for its own sake, because art for its own sake should exist, right? I mean, some of the best pieces of art that I've ever seen are industrial art. If you cannot afford to mass produce, then you cannot afford to create a great piece of industrial art. Like, those things exist. Those things should have a place to exist. And I say, let 1,000 flowers bloom. That's my attitude towards it. I
agree. It's the same thing with altcoins and with everything else. It's like you have to. It's like I hope they all succeed, but well, I won't say even Tron, but either way, that that one way or another, that's very true. And what do you guys think? This is something that I've not brought up anywhere else. I want to call it when we, let's say you have a token that is on our network, and it's proven all the way to Bitcoin, Ethereum, so you can prove provenance of whatever the heck that token represents, right? NFT, that you choose to pull it off of our network because you're going to, send it to OpenSea to sell it to a buddy or, somebody one way or another. To call it defenestrate. That is if you know what defenestrate is, throwing something out a window. Anyway, I'm trying to figure out what the right word is, because it's export or extract would be, but anyway.
And it still includes DeFi in the term.
Ooh, that's a good defenestrate. All right, I wasn't even going that angle. Beautiful. Okay, Orrin's always on top of it. Perfect. Okay, let's see here. Next up, I have. This is a controversial subject, and you might disagree with me even on it. We were recently granted a new patent. Okay, now we primarily, the reason that we started getting patents was being in this industry, getting our back stabbed at every turn, right? From all the other tribes, that we were actually more concerned about the big guys. The banks, IBM, Microsoft, everybody racing after all these patents, starting in 2014 at least, because I remember when we were at Disney, maybe 15, that we started getting them for protection. So, and we have, there's potential to monetize. We are a startup, whatever else. But what are your thoughts on blockchain, software patents in general, blockchain patents in particular? Orrin.
Well, first and foremost, congratulations on the patent. And we believe that a lot of the essence of cryptocurrencies is decentralization and autonomy. So this has influenced a lot of the open source code and GitHub repositories that we see online. And because of this, we see a lot of imitation, whether it be Uniswap and then PancakeSwap, or the yield farms on Binance and Ethereum, which have similar layouts, tokenomics, but different food names. In our opinion, patents help to protect projects which have real innovation in which to manage their idea. In a world where people can copy and paste code, we need to protect ideas to incentivize creation.
Wow. All right. Very good. Very good. What do you think, Greg?
So this is I'm going to split hairs here, because I don't blame you guys for going after a patent. And I think that in the context of the world that we live in, that it becomes necessary, especially in the enterprise space, right? You're competing against folks who will, in fact, belligerently use the patent system to stifle and suppress competition, especially from people who are coming at it from a smaller startup position, right? It's a weapon that people with a lot of existing resources can use to suppress competition from people who don't have as much. So the fact that you guys had to get one is a sign of the problem with the larger system. I personally hope that Rivet will never have to seek patents, but if we did to protect what we're building, I'll be the first person to admit that we'd have to. That said, the first thing we would do as soon as we could afford to dispense with the protection would be open source the patent. So, I think the system itself is broken, but I also don't blame people having to arm themselves with the weapons of that system when they need to. So, congrats for protecting your flank, and I hope that as soon as you can, as soon as you've trounced the competition, that you'll consider open sourcing your patent.
Oh yeah, we have some thoughts on how we want to use them, but I'm not an expert at some of that, so we're seeking the best info we can on how to best use them. But it's an interesting thing, and I'd love to tokenize them, and it's very much the same thing if in a traditional world, that if you're doing some of the things that the DEXs are and the exchanges are, that they have to figure out what the regulations are wherever they live, and it's much the same, right? Where this would exist, and no matter where you are, it is different in different areas of the world. But generally you have to pay attention to it for IP. Same, we also trademarked our logo, and nobody complains about that, right? And we've had one person even try to steal it. So, I mean, we have a lot of pirates, but yeah, even that is interesting. And it's always just a pain. I just wish we could just build stuff and do business and not have as much BS in our history. But most of it's behind us, so right. everything's looking great now. But
yeah, and the more that you have a stake in systems like that, the more you have the opportunity to reform them from within. So
right.
And I know you guys have. I mean, like we've gotten to be good enough friends. I know you guys. Your hearts are in the right place when it comes to innovation. So I still think the system needs reform, but I definitely wouldn't hold it against you guys for having to play.
Yeah, I think they've improved too. When the big because I'm an open source guy, so there was forever that the one thing I didn't agree with most of the open source people on was software patents. That the issue wasn't the concept of a software patent itself. The issue was that the patent office, number one, had stopped accepting physical models because they didn't have space. And now you have software that had a way, without taking up space, to still show you, here is the code working, right? As a physical model. I can show you this is a real thing, as at least a threshold to get a patent. And on top of that, to have something where the patent office didn't have enough people who understood software enough to not give like a one-click purchase patent to Amazon, right? Those were pretty ridiculous. So the issue is that, and I think they've made a lot of pretty big strides, because I know the people that we've dealt with are way more advanced than I expected from past work with patent office in terms of software, and especially blockchain, that they actually knew what to talk about and everything. And the people we dealt with, at least, and I had it through 2 or 3 layers before. I didn't deal directly with them, but I was impressed. So I think they've improved, right? So I was kind of fearful at seeing some of the patents that some of the banks had put together on piggy banks and stuff like that.
It's crazy. I actually considered back in my former life when I was a lawyer, I considered taking the patent bar and going that route. But there's definitely some remarkable complexity involved in the process.
Oh, yeah. So. It's a totally different language and world over there. It's hard to get into it and back out of it. Okay, next, investors think, this is from a survey. So investors think that Bitcoin and Tesla are more likely to have in value over the next 12 months than double. Of course, Deutsche Bank, but and I wonder when this survey was taken. Let's say it was taken 6 months ago. Okay, right. But what do you guys think? Is Bitcoin a bubble? And the whole crypto world, you could consider the whole market cap. Greg.
I don't think so. I think that what we're seeing, especially with Tesla acquiring a good chunk of Bitcoin, is sort of, there is no way for somebody who is not wanting to buy Bitcoin right now to get exposure to that market, or there wasn't, and now you can through Tesla's stock. It's actually, whether it halves or whether it pumps in the near term is irrelevant. The point is there's a lot of advantage for a company to acquire some tokenized assets and keep them on the books. And that suggests, at least with Bitcoin, that the number is going to continue to go up for a while as other companies realize this is a smart strategy. Because when you think about it, when they do their quarterlies, they can play the numbers however they want, depending on the direction Bitcoin moves.
Yep, exactly. So, what do you think, Gordon?
Well, nothing is a straight line. And if we compare Bitcoin's price to a year ago, it was at 5,400. So that's almost a 10x. So we find it funny that news outlets love to cover Bitcoin when there's a potential problem instead of highlighting the growth and accomplishments within the space. And it is possible for Bitcoin to recede, but to be fair, almost no traditional asset has moved like Bitcoin. And as more people learn about blockchain, NFTs, and crypto, we expect that number to increase.
Right. You have a lot of these things. The tech press will do this. I saw something funny on Twitter yesterday where the cycle is basically the tech press Bitcoin cycle is it's a bubble, it's dead. It's a bubble, it's dead. Right? That if it's going up, it's a bubble, and if it's going down, it's dead. And I think it's a way to keep people out of the market, or it's fear. Right? It's typical FUD at a pretty high level. But the thing that I've always wondered, and back in 2017, and I'm not an economist, right? But back in 2017, I had this theory just from what I was seeing that I don't think that this is bubble action. I mean, yes, there are definitely what would be bubbles, and I don't know how precisely you define them, right? But my thing is that there was a .com bubble. There were other bubbles in history. But the difference is in scale. And I think that's what confuses a lot of people. So they think, oh, holy crap, it went up 2x compared to last all-time high. Therefore, it's a bubble. That they're discounting the fact that this is the first, I would say technology, but I could say asset or asset class maybe, that anyone can take part in. I was in the middle of the US and I couldn't take part in the .com bubble, at least not significantly, not to any level that I can with crypto, right? And that's why you have kids, you have young kids and teenagers that can take part in this. They can never take part in, IPOs and everything else that the traditional world would understand. And so I just think this is a rather than having a local market where it's, if you live in San Francisco and you live in this certain time period, then you're going to have access to all of this potential upside. That this is now anywhere in the world. So anyone with the foresight to capture it wouldn't even matter. And that's why, in my opinion, you have the top 10 or even the top 100 cryptocurrencies, probably the vast majority of them, and I don't want to say anything negative, but most of them don't have a utility that is used, right? That some have the utility, but they don't have the adoption to give them valuations like some companies that actually have customers and are building stuff, right? And the reason, in my opinion, is because it is a worldwide market. So everything is inflated, which means the upside on the entire industry, all of crypto, is enormous. I mean, you're talking Bitcoin in the millions, you're talking Ethereum in the hundreds of thousands. And, you just, pull that down through all the other tokens. That's what I see. And I think it's because you have that worldwide, and we're going to at some point get into a phase where it's going to flip from pure shilling and FOMO and marketing to real metrics, real adoption. There's real value here where I can invest in the network, I can invest in the token, I can invest in the products, I can do the things that you would want to see done in crypto. And we hope it happens across the board. We hope it happens to all tokens, but that's we're working our asses off to make that happen for us. So and that's the vision. So I just think it's anybody who says any token is dead is who knows. I mean, something could come alive for a stupid reason right now just because it's worldwide news, but there's a lot of potential. So
right. The fact that Elon Musk could take a shine to Doge and all of a sudden that project could come back, and that is literally just a straight copy of Bitcoin with a better mascot, right? Like,
yes,
that enough should be, terrifying to traditional players who don't want this to be a new thing. Yeah. Moreover, with the wild fluctuations in value, if you ever look at the difference between the value of Bitcoin and ETH, that is remarkably stable. All the volatility comes in when you're talking about comparing these decentralized, not owned, not curated systems to the world financial markets, which are so manipulated it's not even funny. What I wonder is the instability in the measurement across those systems. When are these people going to turn on their own system and say, maybe our thing is the thing that's broken? Maybe the measure that we're holding all these decentralized systems up against is the problem. And I think that's what really probably is a better picture of the world, and that's probably more accurate.
Yep. And by the way, I've mentioned that as well, that and I don't know if people understood or not, but that at some point, depending on what happens with fiat, but if they keep printing money, and this is all countries, if they keep printing money, then we're going to have to start pricing Bitcoin against something that isn't, at least price it against gold directly. How many ounces of gold is one Bitcoin? Might be a more appropriate and stable measure than against the dollar or euro, because frankly, they're just blowing out paper like crazy. So,
and you can't even get them to straight up admit that there's a direct link between M1 creation and M2, right? Like they won't even admit that they're printing dollars into the real economy when they print reserves. And the fact that that's happening is flagrantly obvious.
Yeah.
Just look at every time they announce some new SPV, and the traditional equities market skyrockets. They're making they're digging their own grave right now, and they think they can just wave their hands and say, the Fed says there's nothing to see here. But
wow. Yep. Okay. Next up, I have to talk about the DEN LCP. And the reason I'm bringing this up to you guys is to see what your thoughts are, because I'm trying to figure out how best to describe this to people, because we created this, we created the white paper quite a while ago, almost over a year ago. We knew what we were going to be doing. We knew why. It was before NFT hype, it was before that was what it is now. And we're saying, okay, we're going to basically create an access token, and what you could term an ownership token. It's a Lair ownership token, which is an NFT, and which lets you own part of a Lair, which is a community. And so the more active, and the reason is because we needed something to incentivize people to bring content in, bring people in, create a good culture. Because the better culture they create, the more activity there is, and the more they will get for their ownership, right? And so, how do I say? We just started it on Monday, basically, and it's a week long. And it's you could say you vote, you commit, but one way or another you throw lore in, which is Lair ownership rights, and that lore will get you 1-to-1. A lot. So if I throw in 1 million lore, I'm going to get 1 million lot back, which that's 1 million NFTs that you can break up however you want. You could sell half of them. You could keep them, and if you keep them, then you get a cut of whatever mining is happening inside of that community. So what I guess I want to know, what are your thoughts? Because what we're trying to basically message is that this is in NFTs as ownership, as access, as Orrin had spoken of. That's the purpose that we created these. You have a couple of you have governance features, and you have a couple of economic features having them as well inside that community. But the real point of them is passive income. So I'm basically saying I'm going to hold this, and I'm going to do certain things to develop this community along with all the other people in this community. DEN doesn't do anything with that. It's up to you. And with that, and the more I hold, the more income I get from particular Lair. So have you seen that anywhere else? And what are your thoughts on that as passive income?
To us, we think that this concept is great, because the problem with social media is that we spend hours and months on platforms and there's no form of compensation. And so this would incentivize us to actually use this platform. And we do, because we have a Lair, to actually share our content because we're being compensated for it. And it makes sense, right? Like whether it's our Instagram page, we should be able to divvy that up. Even with Twitter, we can't edit the background. So allowing for more ownership, allowing for more customization is the goal of the internet. And it seems like Dragon is taking that step in the right direction.
Cool. I think great.
I like it in particular because what this allows for is for people to be openly on record as owning a particular content channel, and that in and of itself can have communicative power, right? Like if you're going to have a topic called electric vehicle or EVs, right? Like you're gonna have an EVs topic, for example. If you had like Johanna Kreider of Clean Technica, or like, some of these people who are really good, really obvious, clear experts in the space, as owners of these channels, that creates an opportunity for people to say, this is a voice that I trust, and people who have that trust to impart to these topics will be incentivized to be a part of the conversation and to take the time to curate them. If you reward it, I think it creates a virtuous cycle, appropriately implemented and appropriately spread around, that could really lead to better conversations. And to me, that's really where the value is it can make these conversations elevate themselves, as opposed to having to come up with some kind of forcible external moderation technique to foist the conversation into a space that somebody deems appropriate. The market incentive is to some rate. Right. So,
all right. Very good. Okay. And that's all the questions I have. So, tell me where can people keep up with you, Greg? Where should we watch for Rivet updates?
Well, you can check us out on Twitter. It's @Rivet with underscores. You can follow me @DesignHeretic, and I will definitely share links into all those things. You can actually find me on Den. I'm also Design Heretic in Den, and I will occasionally pop in and say something when I have a free moment to peruse a conversation. I don't get to post in social for fun as much as I'd like to, but I love the topics in there, and I definitely am reachable there if you reach out to me there. So
right on.
Yeah,
and we are coming. By the way, DM and chat will be there soon, so we'll have some things there. How about you, Orrin?
We are Orrin. You can follow us @Real Orrin on all social media platforms. Our den on Dragon Den is Welcome to the Matrix. We have a YouTube channel, Real Orrin. We'll be releasing our first crypto episode on Friday, explaining Bitcoin, the functionality, and who is Satoshi Nakamoto in theory. And then we're also working on a decentralized platform, which we can expect to be sharing over the coming months. Thank you.
Very good. Excellent. No, thank you. Thanks, both of you, for coming on. It's usually usually good content when you're on, because you have great insight, both of you. So let's see here. Follow us on Real Denizens, Dragonchain Gang, and Jojo Row. Do go check out the Lair creation process right now. For anybody who's interested, there will be likely to be millions of NFT created sometime next week after this is all done, based upon the outcome of this process, which, we should say that the top 5 by lore vote will be created, and the top 5 by consensus will be created. And I have to apologize because we didn't have time to get the consensus metric posted before we started this time, but that'll be there next time. And what we're going to try to do is get daily reports towards the end. So if any of the something you should know, if any of the Lair proposals that you like get enough people in them, they will also be created, even if the whole group doesn't have enough lore to push it past whatever these numbers will go to. So I have a few favorites that I want to make sure get created, but mostly so that certain content I know needs a place to go. A lot of times they're going to generic places or whatever. But anyway, that's it. Go check it out. Participate if you can. Ask us any questions. We'll be there. That's it, I think. So see you guys next Tuesday, and thanks again for coming on, guys.
Yep, anytime. Always glad to join you guys.
Same. Welcome to the Matrix.